No, it's at least a fun and easy class, so that's kind of like better when they go out there and do not say, okay, I hate electrical engineering for the rest of my life. Okay, questions? Yes, please.
So the online class, it's online, just
The
online?
online class is purely online.
What do you do when you have that online class? What fun things you do? Because it's pretty cool, go to the lab and do the piano thing, but when it's online, then what?
The online class is, in that way more boring, but it's more their own pace. Actually, no, it's not that much more their own pace, because they have to do these discussion boards, so they are fairly restricted in how they step forward, because they have to discuss with each other, right? The thing with that is what it's meant for, because we are on the schedule that your students need to have this as a prerequisite for something else. And it is a non-major class. So a lot of times this is kind of like, I don't really need to do this. This one is way more important for my major. So if they are in co-ops or internships, they are losing a year already. And this was meant from my side more as, give me those students in the summer who are co-oping somewhere. They're suddenly on a 9-to-5 schedule, and for the rest of the time, depending on where they're at, they're in the middle of nowhere at a steel factory or whatever, right? It's like, they can work in the evenings on this, right? First semester, great. First year, this past summer, not so great, because there were several students in there which shouldn't have been in an online-only class, but they got in there. So I officially it's by permission of the instructor. I know that for next summer I want to make more of that in there, because students on probation, there were several who handed in that. You could see the homework handed in was written in 3 different handwritings. I didn't have time to transcribe it anymore was the answer from one of them. I was like, okay. So, and then, but since you don't have them under control, right, especially when I'm sitting in Germany, I can even say, come to my office. That's what I can handle there. Right? But it's meant from my side, at least, for those students who are willing to put in the extra work, who will understand it no matter if they get hands-on or not. Of course, the co-op students are the ones also who are usually the more advanced, the more, of course, you have to have a certain GPA anyway to be in a co-op. Right? So that's what I intended this for, to keep them on their straight path and not to get them out of there. Any other questions? Yes?
So I will assume that your class is for electrical circuit for non-electrical engineering students, right?
This is everybody but electrical and computer engineering students.
So, and my understanding is that your goal was to increase hands-on experience for the student in class.
Yes, hands-on is also something before they never saw one of these resistors or whatever, so they actually
I wanted to ask, what is the response from the student compared to what you've been hearing before you flip the class and change it to what it is right now? Are you getting more positive response that this is much more better?
I clearly hear from them, much more better, I don't know, because they didn't go to my other class, right? So it's hard to compare in, yes, while I dream of too many publications over this, and maybe by now I'll finally get there, but it's overall, I didn't do any surveys with the classes before, and now do service with them. I want to try to do some service with them about the flipped class and what's good, what's bad, what could be improved. We have a new colleague in electrical engineering, one of the first year professors is in our department, and he has his PhD in engineering education. So I want to try to team up with him and get this going. But overall, the impression is that a lot of students have fun. There are, of course, a few who are kind of like, and depending on, I randomize these groups, right? I'm not, the only sorting I'm doing there is that I try, when I go over the list and look who's in which team, then I try to see that I do not have any teams where I have, at least judging by names, only non-native speakers, right? Because they have to work with language, they have to discuss with each other, they have to write things quickly down. And if you have only non-native speakers in one group, and I have enough variety in the classroom that I can distribute them a little bit. So I try to distribute that out. But that's the only changes which I made. And since I don't know any of the students before they come in my class, I flip them by names and not on anything based on anything else. And then it looks like they have fun. There was one team, and I asked them in the end, they always had so much fun. They were giggling and having fun there. And I asked them, so you were best friends before? No, we never knew each other before. So they were 3 different departments, and they just liked it. Yes?
So I did my undergrad in Wisconsin, which has a similar course, but what they did is they had a lecture taught by the professor, and then they did like a bunch of different lab sections run by TAs, and I was wondering if that was something you thought of and think this is a bigger advantage, or if that's just not feasible here.
Again, it's a service class. There would not be that many resources put into a service class. They do stuff like this for our EEs and computer engineers and their circuits. But 1.5 TAs is a lot of resources I'm getting already for this class. There are some classes which do not get as many TAs, but they recognize that this is a big class for engineering. So I doubt that we ever go into this. What I would like to do is they have these new, what they're called, the teal classrooms, where they have like round tables. I would love to go in those, but the only one on campus which is big enough for that, which is in the new science building, I think, where I could put in like my 16 teams per section, is unfortunately kind of like, unfortunately for my side, kind of financed partially by the math department because they do their big statistics class in there. So they have pre-ordering on those classrooms, and of course Tuesday, Thursdays, 12:30 is prime time. So I'm not getting into that class. I'm glad to have a big classroom in the classroom building.
So the peer evaluation is randomly assigned to the students also.
What is it randomly assigned?
The peer evaluation.
No, the peer evaluation is by team. So they need to, the peer evaluation, what I'm currently doing is, so if it's a 5-people team, each student gets 20 points to evaluate his or her peers. And they are forced to give at least one variation. So they cannot go give straight 5s. They need to make a variation there. And that's what they get in BP. That's one of the weakest points on the whole thing. While I'm really sure that the students, it holds them responsible and it makes them work a little bit more with each other. It's currently, I'm running it through Google Docs form, and then there is a TA who has to run a script afterwards, and then we have to see who did not or did submit, or who did submit wrong values for people who weren't there or whatever. And that's a lot of work for something, and I try to still find out. So while I'm now kind of in an almost stable state with the classroom itself, probably next semester I try in my senior design class, we are an instructor team, and one of the colleagues who's doing the peer evaluation was responsible for the peer evaluation in my team there. He started doing Qualtrics peer evaluations. So I'll probably try to look what he's done there and see if I can transform that over to the 3 or 5 class. It might be better. And anyway, I heard that Google Forms is maybe not really the thing I'm allowed to do much longer for FERPA or whatever reasons. So I have to find another way. And this whole thing here, I wanted to say, because Bodie was there too, but I had this on my mind, and then it was 11 o'clock last night and I forgot to put it on there. It's the flipped classroom. I got a grant from the Eli group here, where they try to bring in more online work, different versions of teaching. And I also was a participant in the Eli faculty group learning system there. And so I had those two in parallel with this first year. So while I did all this, I had a lot of backup from the Canvas people and those online people there, which helped a lot, when I say always. Yes?
How's it going? with all the activities that you're doing in class now? So I mean, that's quite a bit, it's a big difference from doing an example problem on board.
Yeah, I don't know, I sat there and thinking. A lot of time it was really just sitting around thinking, what can you do, and trying it out. And it was really a lot of things I was just barely done Thursday mornings at 10 when I had to go to the classroom. And so, and some of that has been adjusted over this past year, so there were a few assignments like the one we had on here, where we did the first Digital Explorer board. And I thought, oh yeah, it's 3 times the same thing. So what at first, no, they had to do some calculations, and then they had to do the RC circuit, and then they had to do the RL circuit. It was supposed to be all in one module. And most of them weren't done after not even at halfway through. So I had to give them extra time the next week after, which was kind of a relief because I had no week to prepare something. But actually this semester, the first time because the second year it went exactly the same. So it was like, spring semester I had only 1 section, so they all came on Thursdays. But we still had the same issues there. So this year I officially split it and said, okay, you do RC on module 11 and RL, module 12. We might miss some other hands-on, which I would have liked to plug in there at one point, but at least these things you do and you think about it. Whereas otherwise they just rush through and just try to get done instead of thinking. And it's like a lot of these things we're really thinking about. Okay, here's a circuit, this is what they would calculate. How would this look like on a breadboard? How would they do this? Right. Just that back.
So is my that usually someone prepared to do these activities? Like, are they actually doing the work on their own prior to going into class?
I would say in the beginning it's half the class coming in prepared. That's just how they work. The first 2 or 3 modules that works that way, but the other half is not prepared. We have occasionally, or usually per section, we have one team where all of them are kind of the unprepared ones, and latest in module 5, 6, they are far behind and they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're just not getting on with the work. And we point that out to them that they really should go and do their prep work, and that's usually then they speed up a little bit. The pre-quizzes are still an issue, but what? Yeah. It's not making their grades that bad that it would hurt them. I mean, still, I would say 75% of the class goes out with an A. Without bending the wrong things. It's not that I'm trying to get them out that way, but just by how we set up the grading is what they get. So if you want to look later at one of my circuits here, whatever what we do there, you can pull up the canvas if you want to and show you one of the canvas assignments, how it looks like.
Are there any other questions?
Maybe you should later survey your students what they think from the difference between flipped and non-flipped. Of course, you have them here to survey them.
I feel like I've never been better prepared for your class.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
All right, well, let's end this here.